Well, hello and welcome to tutorial 117 in this series of tutorials and programs that focus on TradeStation Easy Language. If you're not familiar with my site, it's called markplex.com, markplex.com, and there you will find a lot of other, I hope, useful resources. Now, in this tutorial, I was asked by one of the site members whether it was possible to create a program such that by clicking a bar, a strategy could be added to the chart. And I'm not totally sure why this would be useful, but I thought it was an interesting exercise, and so that is what I've created. But what I think is potentially helpful is, number one, to learn some of the techniques surrounding doing this, and secondly, I think it's quite useful to be able to click on a bar and to see in the print statement the bar number or the bar date time, particularly when using, for example, a tick chart where the date time is going to be a date and then a time to the second level. Okay, so let me just show you how the program works, and then we'll go in and recreate it from scratch. So essentially we click on a bar like so, and then a strategy will open, one that I've just put in the inputs, and then we've got some various pieces of information telling us that the bar I clicked was bar 499 and that the bar time was on the 27th of October at 3:09:12. Now, one thing with TradeStation is the timestamp for a bar is at the actual end of the bar. Now, obviously with a tick chart, you don't know exactly while you're in the bar when it's going to end, because ticks could arrive more slowly than usual or more quickly or whatever. So I had a little bit of extra code that waits, it shows the click at the time it's clicked, but then waits till the end of the bar and prints the time then. Okay, so let's go ahead and, and incidentally, just to, if you do potentially find it useful to start a strategy by clicking on a bar, one thing that you'll need to make sure is that here in the format of the program, you enable run command easy language keyword, and you can check either the confirmation on or off, and I've got it off at the moment. Okay, so let's go to tutorial 117 development, which is the one we're going to be working on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this one off, I'm going to turn this one on, and we're going to go to the development area. That's the program that I've already developed, and incidentally it is available if you want to save yourself some typing at the program, or rather the tutorial website, for a very modest amount, and otherwise you're very welcome to follow along with this tutorial and input the program as I show you how. So I'm going to go to a blank program. Now, what this program is using is the ChartingHost. We did use this before in tutorial 111, and in tutorial 111 we were using it to programmatically know that we'd clicked a user-drawn line, trend line on the chart, and then we were going on to work out what the volume was for that length of line. Well, in this case, we're going to be clicking a bar, so it's slightly different, but it's still using the ChartingHost. The first thing that we need to do is we're going to go to the toolbox. Now, I've got ChartingHost here. You may not. If you do not, right-click in this area here and say Choose Items, and then you should see ChartingHost in the Choose Toolbox Items dialog. Okay, so let's go Toolbox, ChartingHost, double click on that, make sure it's selected, then go to Properties, and what we need is an event. In other words, when there is a click, and you'll see here chart element click, this is the one we need. So we're just going to go here and we're going to double click, and that will create an event. Now, because I prefer to have all this included in my code rather than in the designer generated code, and that's what the toolbox has done. It's put code in the designer generated code area. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this and paste it into the program like so. And what we must remember now is we need to delete the charting host from the one that was created by the toolbox. I'm just going to do that, and just going to tidy up here, getting rid of some of the comments. Incidentally, the actual program is commented, but I just think it would be easier to see what's going on if I remove some of these comments like so. Okay, now the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that the visual element that's been clicked is the bar, not something else. And the way we'll do that is using args here. So I'm going to say args dot, and then we want to find the type of args is equal to. Now if we right click on this and say definition, we're going to get more information, and we're going to see the thing that we're looking for, type here. And it says get the type of chart element that was clicked. See chart visual element type for a list. Now for some reason you can't click on that, but what you can do is just select it like so, and if perhaps we can just search for it. I'll just see if we can search for it like so, and okay, there we go. And you'll see that we've got various options: background, bar, drawing object, etc. We want the bar. Okay, so what we can do is we could either say to, or we could say args type equals chart element type dot bar. Shouldn't be a space there. Chart element type dot bar. So if it is actually a bar that's being clicked, we are going to do various things. We're going to print some information, and we're also going to run our strategy if we decide we want to do that. Now, in order to get the information about the particular bar, we want to store some information in a method variable. So what we're going to do is create variables, and we're going to call it bar. And remember, with method variables we don't have any default value, and this is going to be a bar visual element. That is the type of visual element it is. Okay, so then begin, end. So let's print something about that bar. Now we can find out what's available here if we click on this and go to definition of bar visual element. I'm not seeing anything there, so I'm just going to search for that. In fact, I think the reason that it's not appearing is we just need to qualify it by a namespace. So let's just do that. And I'm going to remove those soon and put some using commands, but let's just, okay, we're going to get errors there anyway, but let me just try again and say definition. Okay, so there are several bits of information. We can find out the bars ago, we can find out the data num, we can find out time. I'm not really interested in the data num, but we are interested in bars ago and time. So we can go ahead and let's just go ahead and add some using statements. Then we can tidy up the program a bit. So I'm going to say using EL system, so I can remove that from there, and using charting. Okay, remove the dot, and we can also now remove that from there. Okay, so let's start our print statement. So we're going to go print date and time, and I think first thing we're going to do is we're just going to make sure that we store in our bar the actual information in the args.element, and we need to qualify that as type bar visual element. Okay, now we can print what we're going to do. So we're going to say something like bar clicked, and we want to know the bar number, and that is going to be equal to current bar minus the bar dot, and then if you remember, as we looked at the available things, bars ago was an option, so I'm just going to put that in there, bars ago. We're also going to do the time, and we're going to do that in two different ways just to demonstrate the use of date time. So bar dot time to string, and I'm just going to copy that. And we're also going to take the bar time and we're going to format it. So we're going to just let's just put the same in and just say format bar dot time dot format, and now we have the option. I'm not sure if this is going to give you any definition. No, it's not, but you do get a lot of different options for formatting, so I'm just going to use some particular ones here. Okay, so that's the first print statement that we're going to do, and let's just see if can verify this. Okay, so this should be chart visual element dot bar, and of course this should be an if statement. That should be toString, and I think we missed the bracket off there. Okay, so finally that looks like that might be working. So let's just go ahead, and what we're going to do is make sure that the original program is off. Yes, it is. And we're going to remove that strategy just so it doesn't clutter up the thing. And we've got format analysis techniques. We've got this applied to the chart. Okay, good. So I'm just going to clear this, and then we're just going to click a bar and see if we get a print statement. Okay, so there we go. Bar clicked. The number of the bar, the time, 3:21:20, and then the time in a different format. And let's just check that that was actually the bar that I clicked. Okay, there you go, 3:15:21:20. Just to double check that. Yep, that's the same thing. Okay, so we're gonna add another print statement here. So this is going to be the date time for the last bar of the chart. So print, and the syntax used for that is bar date time, and we need to tell it which bar we're going to do it for the bar that's currently being formed. And again, we have the option to format it, and what we're going to use is the same syntax that we just used up here. So we're not going to include the month, just use this little bit like so, and we need to have a quote there to start it. And what I'm also going to do is just include the number of ticks, because you'll see in a moment that these bars are developing, and as they develop you get more and more ticks, but we need to know what the time will be when the bar is actually finished developing. So I'll say that ticks like so. Okay, so let's verify that, see if that's okay. Okay, good. So oh, and also just to keep this nice and easy to see what's going on, I'm going to clear the print log, so that will clear. Okay, so now let's click on this last bar, and you'll see the bar clicked, the number again, the time 3:30:06, and then what you'll notice, because we're only 77 ticks into the bar, that if I click it again, the time is going to have increased, and that's going to keep on happening until actually, as it happens, the ticks reach 100. But what we're going to do is we're just going to find a way of remembering, if we are in a bar like this, that we want to just confirm the bar time at the end of the bar. So we're going to do that. We're going to set a variable, print time end bar, and we're going to set that to true in this area here. So we're going to say print time end bar equals true. In other words, we need to do that. We need to print time end bar, and we need to declare this variable. So I'm going to go up here. Okay, we don't need that because we're putting the using statement there. So this is going to be a Boolean. Just going to copy it. And we're going to set it initially to false, like so. Now the other thing, this actually needs to be an intrabar persist variable, otherwise it will just not get set to true. Time end bar. So we do that by saying intrabar persist. You can try it. You can try it without that and see what happens. But we're going to set that to true, And then what we're going to do at the end of the bar, and we know when the end of the bar is because we say if bar status 1 equals 2 and then begin. So we need to print the time at the end of the bar like so, and we're going to use something very similar to this, or in fact something exactly the same as that, and we can even include our ticks just so that we really know it is the end of the bar. And then what we mustn't forget to do is just set the print time end bar to be false like so. So let's just verify that and go to the chart, and I'm just going to click on this bar here. So you'll see we've clicked it, it's 48 ticks. This is a 100 tick bar chart, so if we click it again we'll see that the time is still for the same bar, but that time is changing, but the number of ticks is increasing, and so on. And if we just leave that for a little short amount of time, what we will see in a moment is that the program will accurately tell us what the bar time is at the end of the bar. Okay, so it's saying the time at the end of the bar 3:35:23, and if we just look at that bar, 3:35:23. Okay, so that's that. Now only the final thing now is just to create the capability of inserting a strategy. So let's just add this in the event, and we do that using run command. So we're going to go run command. We need to put in the name of the command that runs the macro, which is insert strategy, which you can find in the help files. And then we need the name of the strategy, and that is going to be an input. So we're going to call it strategy name, like so. And it's as simple as that, I think. So let's just create an input, and I'm just going to set it as a default for one of my strategies, which is program 71, I think. So let's just verify that, see if we've got any typos, and we do. Okay, we need to put that in quotes. And we can also tell the program what sort of input this is. It's a string. Okay, so let's go back to the chart, and I'm just going to click on a bar, and you'll see the information there. Now, one thing that I mentioned right at the beginning that we need to make sure is with our program, which is this one here, we need to make sure that we've got enable run command, easy language, keyword clicked. So I've just done that now, and so when we click a bar, we'll see we have a problem with our run command. Let me just go back and double check that. So I think the problem is that we don't have a space there. We need to have a space. So let's try that one more time. Okay, now it's saying that the strategy doesn't exist. So I'm just going to refer back to it's tutorial 71. Okay, so let's change that to tutorial 71 and try it again. So click. We're going to get the print information that we've already been seeing, and we're going to see the strategy being inserted. Okay, so I hope you may find these techniques useful. Again, go to markplex.com. Thanks. Bye-bye.